G'day guys, welcome. I kind of wish I had a small window yesterday morning to do this review. And I decided not to do that, probably because I'm a little bit lazy and I was still on pretty much a high from the night before. And yeah, I had every intention of watching the game again, but I had a busy afternoon, and the news filtered through about Sam Docherty, and the last thing I actually felt like doing after the news came through was watching the game again. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't, for some reason, I just didn't put myself through it. So one viewing. So it comes with a real heavy heart. But I'm going to give this, I want to dissect this game because I've got to give it the credit it deserves. But I've got to touch on Sam Docherty first. I've just got to. And it's just fucking gut-wrenching. Gut-wrenching. And I mean, it doesn't seem fair. Of course it's not fair, but it's the realities of football, and this bloke has just been through the rigours, not only in his football journey, but also in life from a health perspective, and he lost his father. And if there was one bloke on the list that you could say you just would be so fucking wrapped for him and happy for him to be part of a potential premiership, it would be Sam Docherty. You know, like, it would be him. It'd be the bloke. He would just go, no, it's Sam Docherty. The ultimate warrior, the ultimate team man. You know, like, and we're just going to miss him, you know, like, and I'll get to, you know, what it means for us moving forward, but that seems a little bit selfish to think about that right here, right now. But his well-being is what, you know, we're all thinking about. And who knows what he's going through at the moment. I mean, we just don't know, but we know the type of person he is, but it doesn't make it any easier because he wants to get back. He wanted to get back because he wants to be a part of this. And this is what makes being part of a team so special. And this is why people like Sam Docherty play team sports. And not everyone is like a Sam Docherty. He wants to be a part of something special. He wants to, and he wants to contribute to that cause and be a big part of that cause. And now that he's not going to be a part of it this year, and who knows what it means for him moving forward, not quite sure. Don't want to necessarily think about that right here, right now. But if anyone deserved to be in this team and contributing, which he does week in, week out, and you can't replace his experience and his consistency. First and foremost, he's such a consistent footballer who can play a variety of different roles, and he's shown this over the last, couple of years. It's not right. It's not right. And I feel for him. I'm actually quite emotional thinking about it right here, right now. And so I'll just park that at the moment. We love you, Doc. And fuck, I know he's got a young family, and there's probably bigger things in life moving forward, but I don't know. This is footy, and being part of a team is huge for these blokes like Sam Docherty. It's just no good. And then quickly, what's it mean for us? And this is, I suppose, from a selfish point of view, but we've got to think about these things. What does it mean? Like, we're now 2 troops down, and 2 bloody experienced footballers who've got an incredible amount of versatility. Jack Silvani can play multiple positions, and now Sam Docherty, and they're experienced, and they bring They bring that energy and that toughness to the group. And we're not going to have that. And yeah, it starts to really, it really does start to continually stretch us. But anyway, I'll think about that, the ramifications of that, maybe a little bit later on, because I want to get stuck into this mind-blowing. I think that's probably the term I'd like to describe this performance, mind-blowing. And I'm a little bit, not so much nervous or anxious to talk about this performance, but you know me, and I try and always be honest, and sometimes that comes across as being not appreciative, of the team, but also maybe a fraction negative. But I'll try and explain myself. You know, like I can only be honest. I can only be honest in the way I feel about this group. And what I will say is I've been watching this football club of ours for a very, very long time, and I know the cohort that follow this channel are probably in a similar age bracket to me, and I don't necessarily have a lot of young people sort of follow this channel, but that's okay. It is what it is. But I think it is, and it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter whether it's the best win I've ever seen, but I think it is the best performance and win I've ever seen from a Carlton football team. It just given the circumstances and the occasion. I know it's not a final. It's not a final, but I'll get to Michael Voss's comments around being a better home and away team. But hardest, and I've mentioned this on social media over the last couple of days, the hardest road trip in the game is probably going to the Gabba, although the Giants are probably going to start to, and the SCG are difficult. But this is a Brisbane Lions team that you would think is so seasoned now, and they haven't experienced the ultimate, but they're at full strength. They've won so many games at that fortress, and you're up against it. You know, what is it? Would you say it's a 4 or 5 goal advantage at the Gabba? And even the best teams go there and just struggle. And we're not quite there yet. And that's probably what I'll get to shortly. And that's not being negative. We're not there yet. But to go there with a far from full strength, and I wouldn't have used that as an excuse if we got done in this game, but it is a factor. And I know there's this next man up theory, but significant outs. Wiedering, Walsh through the midfield. So key back, general midfielder who can run, and is just an absolute gun. Marchbank, Jack Martin adds a fair bit in our front half. Motlop, potentially our best small forward. The list goes on. And a full-strength Brisbane Lions team, only missing second-year player Will Ashcroft and Connor McKenna, who I think's a very dangerous halfback flanker, and I think they had Devon Robinson out as well, and I think he's probably on the fringe. And to start the way we did, which was horrific, and then to trail by 46 points midway through that second quarter and drag ourselves back into that game against the team that were just flying with just dangerous players all over the park, through the midfield, up forward, and just we were being blown apart. But there was just a small part of me, guys, just a small part of me as I was watching that game, probably early stages of the second when they got 46 points up. I actually thought to myself, just put us out of our misery. If it's going to be like this in opening round, and this is going to be the way we've started 2024, because let's face it, it just felt like this was consistent what we'd sort of produced in the preseason games. And everyone would have been thinking that. You would have been sitting there watching that game, and not one Carlton supporter and not one fan across the competition would have sat there at that period of time in the second quarter when we're trailing by 46 points and the Lions were all over the top of it, that we would come back and win that game. Okay, so let's put that on the table right here, right now. All right. So, but there was that small part of me that I thought, let's just get this shit out of our system now. If this is what it's going to be like at the start of the season, if this is what we need to kick up our fucking ass, are we that club at the moment that are going to fluctuate that much? I was not so much happy about getting a hiding, but I was more almost thinking, okay, if it's going to be 46 points and we're going to be this bad, let's fucking make it 80 points or make it 120 points, because it was horrible. But there was also a part of me that was saying, fuck, just show something. Just show something. Because I did mention in the preview very clearly that I just did not expect us to get anywhere near the Brisbane Lions. But I wanted to at least go in to the following week unscathed. Now, we haven't done that because we've lost stock now for the whole season. But apart from that, I think we got through. But find some at least some momentum and positives. Now, I don't want to go off topic here, but I think Richmond did that to a small degree yesterday against the Gold Coast Suns. They were terrible in the first half, but they at least showed in the third quarter. It was a similar type comeback, if I'm perfectly honest, but the Suns pulled away. But at least Richmond showed something in that third quarter that they can hang their hat on. So I was thinking, if it's going to be this fucking bad, let's just get beaten by 100 points and deal with it. But there was also a part of me going, fucking hell, boys, let's just show something. Let's just show some heart and determination, and at least find a positive that we can take into round one against the Tigers the following week. And sure enough, and I wouldn't say it was in the blink of an eye at all, but... And I think, when I think about all the positives in this game, and there are so many, and who knows what it means moving forward. We don't. Just like if we're beaten by 100 points, we'd be probably saying it's only round one. Let's assess it after round 6. Now, we could probably say the same thing. It's an extraordinary performance, and one that we probably won't see again. Really, from our club anyway. Maybe we will see that from other teams again, but not under those circumstances, not against the quality of opposition of Brisbane on the road with a depleted. I don't think we'll see that type of performance again. But for me, it wasn't so much in a blink of an eye, but I was watching this game very intently around, I suppose, the stoppages and the ruck contests, and because at the end of the day, it's the midfield that control the game offensively and defensively. They get to work, and it was the skipper, it was the skipper, and it wasn't the prettiest game by Patrick Cripps. And if you put it on the scale of Patrick Cripps' performances, it's probably. From an individual point of view and a brilliance point of view, it doesn't look good on paper. It's not necessarily he's used the ball that great, but something happened with Patrick Cripps, and it's been happening for a while now. It's not a surprise anymore. And being the skipper of this football club, without Jacob Wiedering, vice captain, without Sam Walsh in there as well. He just said, "Come with me, boys." He really did, and it was a Joel Selwood, Trent Cotchin like steeliness in that second quarter, where he just fucking threw himself at everything. And I think Patrick Cripps has got a couple of nemesis in the competition. And what I mean by nemesis is, I think Jack Steele's one from St Kilda, and I think Dunkley potentially was another one coming through that has had the better of Cripper in regards to just bullying him at the stoppages. And I just felt like Cripper said, "No, fuck this. I'm not taking this. This is about This is about this football club and this football team, not about myself. I don't care how pretty I am in this game, but I'm changing the course of this game. Does that necessarily mean that we're going to, from 46 points down, that we are going to win this game? No, but I'm certainly not going to let this happen. And I just thought that back end, middle part of that second quarter where we just turned the tide and others started to really follow. You know, his great mate, Blake Acres, I thought was superb, physically superb in this game, in that really important part. And I don't think Lockie Fogarty probably will get the just desserts from his game. I think he was excellent even when we were struggling just with his attack on the ball. He was probably the only one really cracking in hard. He was just a man possessed. And it felt like the others followed. And that's what happens, you know, when you have such a strong leader who wasn't necessarily playing great football, but then just decided, nah, fuck this. We're not going to be that team anymore. We're not going to be that team. And right here, right now, guys, we are still that team. And the thing about this game, and I'm appreciative of our performance. I loved it because you're going to have these performances along the way, your close wins where it's tight all game, your comebacks, you lead all day and the opposition come back and go, hang on, you're going to have your losses as well. It is a journey. But I feel like this was such a replica of how we performed in 2023 throughout the whole season. Like we were so horrible for that period of time, yet in the second half of the season, we were so good. And that was just a mirror of this game. We were horrible, then great. And we're sort of not there yet. We're definitely not there yet. So I'm still cautious. I'm still really cautious, but it's a massive positive because they're becoming these close wins are becoming sort of the norm for us, and they're not always going to go our way. But once upon a time, we were always on the receiving end of those close losses. And I think the most impressive part of this win for me wasn't the amazing seven goal quarter in the, where we just blew them out of the park in the third quarter. We've seen that from this group before, even when we were struggling, back under Teague, we had those periods of time where we could fucking just have big quarters and look $1 million. But the thing I loved about this performance was the quarter and a half after Matthew Cottrell put us in front with a great goal. And he's capable of doing those little things, Matthew Cottrell. And this is why I think he's a little bit down on form at the moment, although I thought he did a good job going to Calamarchi. Where did he come from? Calamarchi? He looked like fucking Patrick Dangerfield in that first quarter, but I thought he did a good job, and I think that was a good move by Voss to lock down on Archie, who was on fire. But he's capable of doing that, Matthew Cottrell. But once we hit the front, and we see this so much in football, guys, that it's almost because you've come, and that's 46 points. Fuck, that's a long way back. The cliche is, but it's not a big margin in today's game. Well, it is a bloody big margin when you're playing at the Gabba and playing against a formidable opponent. It's a huge ask. But when we hit the front, there's always that tendency that it takes a little bit of the wind out of your sail. And although you've got great momentum, why didn't we kick the next 7? Because it was almost like the Lions, who definitely probably took their foot off the pedal slightly in that second quarter. And they missed a few shots, but that takes nothing away from us. The next quarter and a half was probably that pleased me the most. Lead changes, hard, tough, uncompromising football. We hung in there. We fucking just did so much right, but so much wrong at times. But that's football in those tight tussles. And we that last quarter, they hit the front, then we hit the front, then they hit the front, and they could never get multiple goals, which I think in the past we've allowed teams to get those 2 or 3 in a row, which has really taken the wind out of our sails. But this one, they get a goal, and then we had that mental capabilities of being able to go, okay, let's reset here. And we were able to do that, like in that last piece of play when Big H kicked that goal, and that was just, you couldn't script that any better. And it came from a stoppage with TDK, and his ability to get dirty in that last quarter and just keep running. And, I think that was a good move, playing the one ruck, and whether we do that moving forward, who knows. But yeah, and then, what was a minute and a half to go or whatever it was, and they got that clearance out of the middle. It was in their front half, and we didn't fall over each other late in the game to win that. And I was just dreading the fact that they could get a point or a goal to win that. But I think the more we do this, the more confident we get in this group that there is something pretty special about the way they go about it. But I am cautious, guys, because I keep going back to what the coach, I suppose the messaging from our coach. Michael Voss has said publicly, we need to be a better, more consistent home and away team. And it has so much merit to it. And and a lot of teams will go through patches where they're just ordinary, and we're no different. We're no different to other teams in the competition. But let's face it, you've got to finish in this comp. Realistically, you've got to finish top 4, top 2. And we found out that last year. We just did. And we can't be that team that's going to fluctuate so much with, I don't know if it's effort. I don't know if it's effort. I don't, but just clearly in that first quarter and a bit, we were just so far off the pace. It wasn't funny. Now we banked that win, and a win that we didn't expect to get at all. And now we go into round 1 against the Tigers expecting to win. We expect now a go against Richmond, who've probably had their pants pulled down by the Suns, but they get some players back. It's a whole different ball game now. And this is where I think Voss is alluding to. We need to be a more consistent team across the year in the home and away season. And this is what makes a very good football team, is consistency, because that, in essence, will give you enough wins to finish top 4, get the double chance, top 2, get home finals, etc., etc. So I don't want to undersell the performance, because I thought it was just wonderful and probably the best I've ever seen. What I'll do is go through, it's probably a bit of a long one here, guys, but I'll go through, it's probably easier to go through each of the players. I'll go in number order. Please, in the comments below, what are your thoughts? Am I being too negative saying... look, basically what I'm saying is I'm just keeping a lid on it, really. I love what I'm seeing. It was completely unexpected. Just, I spoke about that in the preview, that just didn't think we were in good enough form. But, fuck, that game was just it was bipolar. It was worlds apart. So do we just need to bring that a little bit closer to balance, or is that just modern footy? I'm not quite sure, but I am being cautious. Anyway, Ollie Holland thought he was struggled for most of the game, but I did mention to my son watching at home that the beauty about Ollie Hollands, the beauty about Matthew Cottrell, the beauty about Sam Walsh when we get them back, when others are tiring, and I'm sure other teams in the comp have got players who are just running machines. Ollie Hollands, he was fucking running on top of the ground in that last quarter. He was willing himself to contest. He was tackling. But he just had a game that I'm not quite where if he wanted to forget that game because he's a second-year player. But it wasn't the Ollie Hollands that we saw, I suppose, throughout last year. He wasn't getting out. He wasn't getting out by himself. He didn't get involved or engaged in the game, I suppose, offensively, but he worked fucking hard in that last quarter. We needed him. We needed him to keep running, and it's exactly what he did. Cerra was consistent. I think he had 7 clearances, 25 touches. I didn't think it was a super game by Adam Cerra, but there's plenty there to improve on for Adam Cerra. And he was just part of a midfield group that got their pants pulled down early that worked themselves back into the game. And he, like Cripps and Hewitt, they got to work. And I think the most pleasing thing about Adam Cherry's game is the clearances. I think he can do a little bit of both. He's adequate on the outside, and he's a bull on the inside. So I think it was a reasonable performance. Great. I thought Zach Williams, when we were down early, provided us with a little bit of spark and a little bit of run. I thought he looked really good. Really good. He's had 19 touches, and I think he can build on that. I think the second game back, historically, is sometimes the most difficult one for these types of players because the adrenaline's so high. So it'll be interesting to see how Zach goes, but it's great to see him back. I think it changes this somewhat. I spoke about, how excited I was to have Williams, Boyd and Sard working in tandem. And I think it looked okay in this game, particularly when we started to get on top. So, I think it was a really positive performance by Williams. Look, Kennedy was really down, looked a bit slow. Whether he's underdone, not quite sure. Kicked a goal. I just didn't think it was a great performance by Matthew Kennedy. He'd want to improve on that. I thought Fogarty was superb. I thought he was superb. He's had 9 tackles. And you need that. And he's kicked a goal. And you need that type of player. You need that guy who's just willing to sacrifice his game, his individual exploits for the football team. And he's that type of individual, and I think he's cemented his spot in the team as that hard-working small forward who's just a fucking bull. So I thought he was super. I thought he was super all night. Cripper, spoke about him, not going to go into it anymore, but just how consistent has Cripper now become of kicking those goals from 30, 40 metres out? In crucial times of games. He's gone from being such a wayward kick in front of goals to being very, very reliable. And I'm loving the fact that he's no longer this absolute superstar of the competition. I just think he's a great leader. And he's in his games, it's different. It's different. I'm not saying he's not going to have those big games where he's going to, have 30 odd, but there was something very special about this performance by Patrick Cripps. I said it was Selwood-like. I said it was Cochrane-like, and I'll stand by that. Harry was great. I thought he was best on the ground. I really did, and it was consistent with his pre-season form. And the goal late in the game was just magnificent. He marked the ball really well. I thought his ruck work was surprisingly good. I didn't think he looked out of sorts in there. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Moving forward, where does that leave Big Pitt? Because I thought he was super all night. McGovern worked into the game really well. I think there was a couple of times there in that second quarter where we were under the pump. He took a nice intercept grab, and I think his ball use was really good. I think we had our hands full early in the game, but he wasn't the only one. We were sort of like really disorganised, but it was a really good, solid performance by Mitch McGovern. 24 hit-outs, 11 touches to DeConning. I think he can only get better. I think McInerney's a decent ruck. It's going to be interesting to see, how that stacks up with TDK and that ruck system. But I thought, some of his efforts were great, particularly late in the game. Akers, mentioned here with Cripps, superb when we really needed him, and he's become that player. I thought at times he fumbled a bit, went for the ball. It was slippery, but went for the ball one-handed. I don't know if he's still being troubled by that shoulder injury, but he's a fucking bull, Blake Akers. There was some really nice little moments by Orazio Fantasia, and he spoke after the game. He spoke really well, and he's a really level-headed, he's not young anymore, but I'm hoping he can build on that. I really do, and hit the scoreboard. But he's kick inside 50 to Harry early in the game, showed a touch of class. He is fast. Definitely something to build on with Orazio. I've mentioned Doc. Just, tragic. Jack Carroll. 10 touches. He's had the 4 clearances, which is good from 10 touches, and he's played, about 2.5 quarters. Well, not so much, but he play a half. Did he play a half, Jack? Did he come on after half time, or did he come on late in the second? God, I should know that. But I don't want to undersell Jack Carroll's performance because it's better than what we've probably got. Although he did, when he first got his opportunity in the seniors, he looked quite good. But it's been a battle since. But he's only 21 years of age, but he's in his 4th year. Can he keep building on that? Can he keep building on that? Because it looked okay. As that second string midfielder, he'll do his role, do his job. It looked good. Lovely finish, lovely goal. Worked hard, but it's only 10 touches. I'm not getting carried away with that, but it was a positive. Kemp. Yeah, I think it's still a work in progress defensively. I really do, but yeah, it was a decent game. It was a decent game. I thought he was a lot better after half time, but yeah, I think defensively there's still some question marks with Brodie Kemp. Nick Newman, another one who started really slowly, but he found his groove, and maybe a really slow pre-season and a couple of really ordinary practice matches by Nick Newman and a poor first half. Yeah, he got his fucking mojo back, but yeah, he was really important, pushing up and using that left peg. I actually liked David Cunningham's game. I thought at times he could have gone a little bit harder for the ball at the contest, but maybe that's not necessarily him. But I'd like to see him just be a little bit tougher at the contest. Not saying he's a squib or anything, but sometimes he's just a little bit tentative. It's a confidence thing, not quite sure, but I thought he was another one. I mean, that was an important goal in that second quarter. He got out the back, and then he just had some nice little moments. 5 tackles. We'd like to see a little bit more, but those periphery guys in this game had their moments. And when you win these games like that, those periphery guys, the ones that tend to, when you do get your pants pulled down, they're the ones that really go missing. But maybe it was I don't know. I didn't mind his game. I didn't mind it. Hewitt worked really hard, but I think there's still a few question marks on the speed of our midfield. And we are mixing it up in there and trying to get Fantasia and Ollie Hollands in there, etc., etc. But Hewitt, Cripps, Kennedy, Chera, they're not explosive, but we got on top. We got on top in that midfield, and Georgie was hard and tough and went to Neil and made life tough for one of the best players in the competition. Curnow, I love the game. That's not necessarily 4 goals, which was so important. 3 goals in that third quarter and 1 in the second when the game fucking we needed to, I just think there's a lot of pressure on him, and I've spoken about this, and a lot of people have spoken about it, that this isn't a final, but there are a few demons, and that's, you brilliant players just need to bring, I suppose, that energy, and it felt like he had the energy, when you're swooping on the balls like he did, and he made Jack Payne look pretty fucking ordinary, to be perfectly honest, and Harris Andrews was sort of, and I know they like to use Harris Andrews as that interceptor and stuff, but it almost felt like no one really wanted to go to Charlie, and he made them pay in that third quarter. I thought it was a good. Lewis Young surprised me a little bit, and the thing with Lewis Young, I really like him. I really do, and I want to like him, and I like what he did a few years back, and I think at his height and at his age, he should be that player now, and he had his moments, and I thought a lot of criticism on Joe Danaher, but I actually thought Joe Danaher wasn't too bad. But I think as the game progressed, Lewis Young got better and better, and he looked a lot more confident in the air with his spoiling, but also a little bit assured by foot and a little bit quicker with disposing of the football. I think we've still got a few. Until Weeders gets back though, and no March back, we've still got some challenges in our back half. Thought Jordan Boyd, I love it. I love Williams, Boyd, and I'm almost allowed Saad just to play on Charlie Cameron. It's interesting, isn't it? Everyone expects Saad to be the one to explode, but okay, we're now trying to get the ball in the hands of Boyd and Williams. As those distributors, and 16 touches, thought he used the ball really well. A couple of mistakes here and there. Saad, I think no doubt on that ground, Charlie Cameron's one of the most dangerous players going around, and Saad did a reasonable job. Made a couple of mistakes, but fuck, he looked happy after the game. Will he be better for the run? Is he necessarily good enough? I don't know. I mean, he didn't hit the scoreboard. He is a regular goal kicker. They must love him. They must love what he brings. What's that look like moving forward? Motlop to come back in. We love what Fogg's doing. Fantasia. Interesting one. And then I'll mention Cottrell's. I think Cottrell, his ability to run on top of the ground when everyone except the likes of Ollie Hollands and co are battling. he's just continuing to go. Bit quiet early, but he did a job on, and I thought probably the most dangerous player on the ground early, and that was Callum Archie. Anyway, guys, tell us what you think. I'll be back early in the week to do a big preview, because I think this game's big. It always is. I think it's a big game against the Tigers. I'll be doing that preview probably on Tuesday. Take care.